Welcome to the Urban Herald. We're the team that digs into the noise of modern life to pull out the stories that really matter, the ones shaping how we think and live.
And today, well, we've got something pretty unique.
We really do. We're doing a deep dive into something that's been kept, well, surprisingly under wraps for decades.
Yeah.
The spiritual life of Madonna. An icon, obviously, but this part of her, not so much talked about.
Right. I mean, for years, the focus was all on the music, the image, the provocation.
Yeah.
But our sources, they reveal this really serious long-term commitment, decades long, specifically to Kabbalah. And what makes this feel urgent, why we're talking about it now?
Is that she's chosen to speak out after almost 10 years of silence on this subject specifically.
And it's not about promoting anything. She's sharing wisdom, she says, that literally saved her life.
It's quite a statement. I mean, when does Madonna sit down for a major interview just to talk about her inner world, her consciousness?
It hasn't happened, not like this, for, 9 or 10 years.
And the timing is crucial, isn't it? Coming right after that near-death experience she had. It completely shifts the focus. This isn't commerce. It feels more like, well, a confession.
It's an extraordinary claim, absolutely, but she seems completely genuine about it. Her whole point, the core of it, is that her survival, her sanity, staying power in that industry.
Yeah.
It's all down to this spiritual practice, this internal life she's built. She even contrasts herself with peers, people who are no longer with us.
Implying that without this anchor, maybe they or
Okay.
she wouldn't have made it.
That seems to be the implication. It's like the fame, the pressure. It eats you up unless you have something deeper.
And now, facing her own mortality, she feels this sense of duty.
A responsibility, that's the word she used, to offer some guidance, some perspective.
Okay, so our mission here for the Urban Herald team is to unpack that, to connect the dots between, 30 years of spiritual study,
30, yeah.
that really intense health crisis in 2023, and how all of this is now feeding into her art, especially this upcoming album, Confessions 2.
Which everyone's waiting for, obviously. So, let's dig in.
Okay, so to really get what's happening now, you have to go back. Look at the foundations. She started studying Kabbalah. We're talking 1996.
Wow, 96, so that's 29 years.
Almost 3 decades. That kind of sticking power tells you something, right? This isn't some fleeting celebrity fad she picked up last year.
No, definitely not. And it's important, I think, to clarify what Kabbalah actually means to her, because it's often misunderstood.
Absolutely. She's very clear. For her, it's not a religion in the strict dogmatic sense. It's more of a philosophy, a set of tools, principles for understanding reality.
And she finds it lines up with science, quantum physics even.
Yeah, she sees it as compatible. Like understanding the universe is this unified energy field, something you can tap into, work with, channel even.
Which is such a stark contrast to her upbringing, isn't it? She was raised Catholic.
Very much so. And she described her experience in the church, well, pretty bluntly, feeling like a religious robot.
Yeah, like just going through the motions, performing rituals without understanding why. And if she asks questions, why do we do this? What's the deeper meaning?
What was the answer?
Because it's written. That's just how it is. It was a closed system. No room for inquiry.
And Kabbalah was the opposite.
Precisely. That's what drew her in. It invited questions. She was encouraged to dig deeper, especially into texts like the Zohar, the main Kabbalistic text, to look beyond the literal, find the sort of energetic principles underneath.
Right, so it satisfied an intellectual curiosity that the church hadn't.
Exactly. She wouldn't have stuck with it, with the same teacher for all these years, if it felt rigid or, corrupt or just fake. She needed that freedom to really seek.
Okay, so that's the background. Now, how does she define having a spiritual life today, and what's this threat she sees from the material world?
For her, a spiritual life boils down to cultivating an internal life. That means setting aside dedicated time every single day. It's a ritual.
Like meditation, prayer?
Could be contemplation, specific prayers, meditation,
Right.
whatever works. But the key is it's an intentional withdrawal, stepping away from the constant external noise and pressure.
Because she sees that external world as dangerous.
Well, she talks about the downfall of so many people, especially early in her career. People who got caught up believing that the physical world, the material stuff, is all there is.
The fame, the money.
The approval, the followers, the fabulous outfit, all of it. Chasing that external validation.
And her point is, it doesn't work.
She's adamant about this, and consistently so, looking back at interviews. Those things, those finite external things, they don't bring us peace. Not lasting peace, anyway.
Which ties into something broader, doesn't it? This idea of losing spaces for reflection.
Yes, absolutely. It connects to this concept called the third space theory. If you look back historically, societies often have three distinct kinds of spaces.
Okay, like what?
You had the home, right? Family, rest.
Yep.
Then the workplace, production, doing stuff. And then, crucially, a third space, a dedicated community space.
Like a church, a temple.
Exactly. A synagogue, a community center. Somewhere specifically designed for self-reflection, for connecting with something bigger than yourself. Quiet contemplation.
And your point is, we've lost that third space.
Pretty much, yeah. Society today, it's just chaotic, isn't it? Busy. Work bleeds into home, home bleeds into work. And that dedicated quiet space, it's gone.
Replaced by?
Constant noise, distraction, phones buzzing, social media scrolling, endless information overload, perpetual motion, visual stimulation 200/7.
And that makes us uncomfortable with silence, with looking inward.
Totally uncomfortable. We don't know how to just be quiet anymore. If you don't have that ritual, that dedicated practice, you're kind of just adrift, stuck in the noise, always looking outside yourself or distracting yourself online.
So for Madonna, consciousness is the key.
Consciousness is everything, she says. That intentional awareness, making the effort to look inward. Without that, she argues, there's really no point to living. You're just reacting, being pushed around by whatever's happening outside. A leaf in the wind, basically.
But getting that consciousness, that awareness, it's not like flipping a switch, is it?
Mm-hmm.
The sources show she started looking for something more even when she seemingly had it all.
Oh, absolutely. Peak, fame, fortune, career going stratospheric, but inside, she says she wasn't happy. Something was missing.
So she started searching. What did that look like initially?
It was kind of
And
casting a wide net, it seems. Before Kabbalah really clicked, she had this roommate in New York who was Buddhist.
okay.
And what struck Madonna was that this roommate, despite all the usual stress and struggles of, trying to make it in New York, she was never upset.
Just calm.
Yeah, this quiet certainty, a feeling that whatever happened, it was okay, it was meant to be. That specific path didn't stick for Madonna then, but the idea that you could have that kind of inner resilience that planted a seed.
And then there was yoga, Ashtanga yoga.
Yes, and this story is really telling about her mindset back then. She dove into Ashtanga, but she approached it like everything else she did, competitively. She was focused entirely on mastering the physical poses, nailing the first series, the second, the third. Like, it was a physical contest she had to win.
Just the external achievement.
Exactly. Until her teacher, Eddie Stern, had to gently point out, you're missing the whole point.
Which was?
The poses weren't the goal, they were just a tool, something to help you focus on your breath, calm your nervous system, find your center.
So she was still caught up in the performance, the doing, not the being.
Precisely. Still focused on the outside, the physical expression, rather than the inner discipline it was meant to cultivate.
Okay, so those were early explorations. But what was the real catalyst? The thing that made her commit to a deeper spiritual path?
Motherhood. Hands down. When she got pregnant with her first daughter, Lola,
What happened?
it hit her like a ton of bricks. This overwhelming sense of responsibility and terror, actually.
Terror. Why terror?
Well, you have to connect it back to her own childhood trauma, losing her mother when she was only 5 years old. So subconsciously, she always associated motherhood with death, or at least a total loss of freedom, of self. It was deeply ingrained fear.
And becoming a mother herself brought all that up.
Massively. That fear, the uncertainty, it made her feel like she knew nothing. Absolutely nothing. How could she guide another human being when she felt so lost herself?
And that feeling, despite all the fame and success.
Exactly. It showed her the gap, all the external stuff, the fame, the money, the power. It couldn't fill this existential void. She realized she was still, in her words, a slave or a victim of other people's opinions.
Wow.
She needed something deeper, a purpose beyond selling records, because, as she put it, none of that lasts. She needed that spiritual anchor, not just for herself, but so she could actually be a mother.
And that commitment, that anchor, was tested severely.
In the most intense way possible. June 2023, she was gearing up for the big celebration tour.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it.
And she got hit with this really aggressive bacterial infection. It turned into sepsis fast.
Sepsis is incredibly dangerous.
Life-threatening. She ended up unconscious in the ICU on a ventilator for 4 days. Things looked really uncertain for a while.
Jeez.
And that experience, coming through that, she credits her spiritual life completely. For her physical recovery, Yes, but also mentally getting through it.
So the crisis became the proof.
In a way, yes, it was like the ultimate visceral confirmation of a core spiritual idea she'd been studying. Suffering is unavoidable. There's no way we're going to escape suffering. Facing death made the value of her 30 years of practice absolutely undeniable.
Right. So if suffering is a given, if we can't escape it, the real question becomes, what do you do with it? How do you navigate it? Transform it, even.
And this is where the tools she learned really came into play, became lifelines, basically.
Exactly. Especially this concept her Kabbalah teacher taught her, radical acceptance.
Okay, radical acceptance. That sounds intense. What does it actually mean? Because I think sometimes people hear acceptance and think it means just giving up, resigning yourself. Yeah, it's not passive resignation at all. It's an active choice. It's about surrendering your resistance to what's happening.
Surrendering resistance.
It's just accepting that what is happening to you is meant to happen to you, she says, and that you're going to be okay. It sounds simple, but it's profound. So much of our pain comes not from the event itself, but from how desperately we fight against it, wishing it were different.
So radical acceptance closes that gap between what you want and what is.
It collapses that gap.
Yeah.
And we see her apply this in two really critical situations. First, during her recovery from sepsis.
Which was slow and difficult, right? Not instant.
Extremely slow, grueling, frustrating, especially for someone who, by her own admission, always saw herself as superwoman, used to pushing through, getting results immediately.
So how did acceptance help there?
Her teacher gave her very direct advice. He told her, basically, the sooner you accept what's happening to you, accept the slowness, accept that you don't know when it will end, the sooner it will end.
Wow. So accepting the lack of control actually helps regain some sense of peace, maybe.
It freed her from the agony of impatience, of fighting reality. It allowed the healing process to unfold without that added layer of mental torture.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second example.
Yeah.
You said it tied back to her childhood trauma.
Yes. This was years earlier, during that really public, painful custody battle over her son.
Right, I remember that being difficult.
She describes it as far more than difficult. For her, it felt like the end of the world because it hit that deep primal nerve, the fear of abandonment, the betrayal, the same feeling she had when her mother died.
That's incredibly raw.
It is. She talks about literally lying on her dressing room floor, sobbing, even having suicidal thoughts because the emotional pain was just unbearable.
And that pain was fueled by non-acceptance.
Completely. She was constantly fighting the situation, railing against it. And that resistance, that non-acceptance, was what created the prolonged, torturous suffering.
So the spiritual lesson was, accept the situation, even the immense discomfort.
Accept it. Radically accept it. Not like it, but accept that it is. That was the only way to move beyond feeling like a victim of her trauma, to start healing.
And this theme of abandonment and betrayal, it connects to her ideas about karma, right?
Directly. It leads straight into how she understands karma and victim mentality. For her, nothing is random. Challenges aren't just bad luck.
They're lessons.
Orchestrated lessons, yeah. Part of your karmic destiny, cause and effect playing out. And her specific recurring lesson, the one the universe kept throwing at her in different forms, always betrayal or abandonment.
So how do you break free from feeling like a victim when that keeps happening?
The crucial shift is to stop asking, why me? Why is this happening to me? And start asking, okay, how did I participate in this? How did I maybe bring this upon myself?
That sounds like blaming yourself, though.
It's subtle, but it's different. It's not about self-blame in a guilty way. It's about personal accountability. Shifting from seeing the challenge as an external punishment
to seeing it as a necessary lesson.
Yeah.
Designed for your growth.
Exactly. A lesson designed specifically to help you evolve to reach a higher level of consciousness. It takes the power back in a strange way.
Okay, those are big picture ideas. But what about the day-to-day stuff, the small annoyances, the negative thoughts?
Right, because life isn't just massive crises, it's also the little things. And the sources detail this really practical tool her teacher, Aitken, gave her for dealing with those daily challenges, those feelings of lack or just negative self-talk. Especially comparison, she calls comparison the killer of joy.
Ooh, that's good. The killer of joy. So what's the tool?
It's a 4-step process for revealing light, kind of like spiritual first aid.
Okay, let's break it down. Step 1.
Step 1 is pause. The second you feel that challenge, that negativity, that ouch, you have to consciously stop. Interrupt the automatic reaction.
Stop.
Stop. And then you say this specific phrase to yourself, what an opportunity.
What an opportunity, even if it feels terrible.
Especially then. You don't have to believe it intellectually at first, you just say it. It's a way of reframing the moment. recognizing that this discomfort, this lack, it might actually be a gift, a chance for the universe to show you some hidden light within yourself.
Okay, pause, say, what an opportunity, then what? Step 2.
Step 2 is embrace. And this is probably the hardest one for most of us.
Why? Because it means feeling the bad stuff.
Exactly. You have to allow the difficult feelings, the discomfort, the darkness, the fear, the anger, whatever it is. Our instinct is to run, suppress, fix it immediately.
Yeah.
But she stresses you can't find the light in the darkness if you refuse to stand in the darkness. You have to embrace it. And this requires developing what she calls certainty beyond logic.
Certainty beyond logic.
It means trusting deep down, even when your brain is screaming otherwise, that this experience, however painful, is ultimately for your best, for your growth. It's a leap of faith, really.
Okay, that's deep. Pause. Embrace. Step 3.
Step 3, affirmation. Because while you're embracing the discomfort, your ego, your negative thoughts, they're still chattering away, right? You're not good enough, you're lacking, this is awful.
Yeah, the inner critic.
So you have to counter that actively. You affirm the truth. All the light that I need is within me.
Like a mantra.
Exactly. You repeat it, you drill it in. It's not just positive thinking, it's a spiritual declaration. You're reminding yourself of your connection to that inner light, forcing your heart and mind to align with your soul's perspective, not the ego's fear.
Makes sense. Pause, embrace, affirm, and the final step, step 4.
Step 4 is action. You can't just sit there affirming. You have to move the energy, specifically by taking an action of giving or kindness, even and especially when you feel like you have nothing to give.
Wait, so if you're feeling lack, you should give something away. That seems counterintuitive.
Totally counterintuitive to the ego. The ego says hoard, protect, withdraw when you feel lack. But the spiritual principle is the opposite. By performing an act of service, generosity, kindness, even something small, you shift your energy.
Yeah.
You break out of that self-pitying inward spiral of lack. You align yourself with the vibration of the soul, which is inherently about giving and connecting. It breaks the ego's grip almost instantly. It changes your state.
Wow. Pause, embrace, affirm, action. That's really practical, actually.
It is. It's a concrete process. And doing this consistently requires self-reflection. But she's careful to distinguish that from guilt.
Right. What's the difference for her?
Guilt, she says, is just the ego beating you up, making you feel ashamed. It paralyzes you, keeps you stuck in the past, stops you from growing.
Whereas self-reflection is?
It's about accountability. It's looking back honestly and asking, okay, what can I learn from this? Not how terrible am I, but what's the lesson here? The goal is to get to that learning question faster each time. Use the 4 steps. Shorten the time you spend wallowing in guilt or resistance. And this whole journey, moving from that competitive drive, maybe even victimhood at times, towards being this conscious channel, it obviously had a huge impact on her art.
Yeah, the sources point directly to the Ray of Light album, don't they? That came out, what, about a year after she started seriously studying Kabbalah.
Exactly. And you can hear the shift. She talks about realizing something profound during that period. She wasn't the creator of the music, the ideas, the light.
She was the channel.
The channel, the vessel. She realized her talent wasn't hers, fundamentally. It was this cosmic energy flowing through her, and her job was simply to share it.
That's a massive shift for an artist known for being, well, pretty controlling about her image and output.
Totally radical. And it changed her whole idea about manifestation.
How so? Because manifestation often gets talked about in terms of, getting stuff, material things.
Right. The Bugattis, the mansions, the Louis Vuitton deals, whatever. She sees that kind of desire as ultimately selfish, limited, hollow even.
So what's true manifestation for her?
It's wanting something, pursuing a goal, specifically for the sake of sharing. The intention matters. Is this just for me, or will achieving this allow me to bring more light, more good to others?
So success has to have a positive ripple effect.
It has to. Otherwise, the light doesn't stick, basically. And crucially, you have to recognize you're not doing it alone.
Meaning?
You're in partnership with the universe, with the light, with God, whatever word you use. If you try to manifest just through ego, through sheer willpower, thinking you are the sole source, she says you're like an ostrich with your head in the sand.
Right.
Any success you get that way will be temporary. It won't last because it's not grounded in that deeper connection, that consciousness. It requires constant work.
Which brings us to maybe the most important lesson her teacher taught her about her career specifically.
Yes. That she is the manager of her talent, not the owner.
Manager, not owner. Explain that.
Think about it. If you own something, You feel entitled to it. Your ego gets attached. This is mine. You might get arrogant, resistant to feedback or change.
Okay.
But if you're just the manager of a precious resource, your job is to protect it, nurture it, make sure it's used wisely, shared effectively. It requires humility, responsibility, constant care.
That's incredibly humbling, especially for someone with her level of talent and fame.
Profoundly humbling. And she uses this idea to understand why some other huge talents, these meteoric careers, burned out so quickly.
Who does she mention?
She names people like Prince, Michael Jackson, even the artist Basquiat, clearly geniuses, channeling incredible light. But she suggests they couldn't handle the light, or they flew too close to it.
Meaning they lacked.
What Kabbalah calls restriction, or consciousness, essentially. Restriction isn't about denying yourself. It's about having the internal structure, the discipline, to contain the immense energy flowing through you, so it doesn't overwhelm or destroy the vessel, the person.
And without that restriction.
You get chaos. She points to things like drug abuse or just excessive, uncontrolled behavior. It's like channeling pure energy with no container. It leads to burnout, self-destruction, often early death.
So her spiritual practice was her restriction, her grounding force.
It absolutely served that purpose. And this commitment was non-negotiable for her. Apparently, it used to drive her managers crazy.
How?
She'd literally miss important business meetings or be late for shows because she had prioritized her study time, her prayers, her ritual days off.
She was managing the light, not just the tour schedule.
Exactly. The practice forced that humility, constantly pulling her back to center, reminding her fame was transient, the talent wasn't hers. It's like that old story about the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius.
The slave whispering in his ear.
Yeah, after a victory parade, having someone whisper, "Remember, you are just a man." Her daily practice was that whisper. That constant spiritual vigilance kept her grounded, even at the absolute peak of global fame. Understanding she was the manager, not the god of her own success.
And that grounding, that spiritual foundation, faced its ultimate test with the near-death experience in 2023, which then brought this huge focus onto forgiveness.
Yes. The experience seemed to catalyze something really deep around forgiveness. She shared this incredibly intense personal moment from when she was in the hospital.
While she was still unconscious?
Medically unconscious, yes, but she
Yeah.
describes having this conscious moment like a vision or visitation. Her late mother appeared to her.
Wow, what happened?
Her mother asked her, "Do you want to come with me?"
And Madonna said.
Her immediate internal response was no, a definite no.
Why? What was behind that no?
It wasn't just wanting to live, it was this sudden, overwhelming clarity that she had unfinished business. Specifically, she said, she needed to forgive and make good with people that I still held grudges against.
So facing death literally made her take inventory of her unresolved relationship.
Exactly. Who was she still holding on to anger or resentment towards? And the first person who came to mind, apparently, was her estranged brother, Christopher Saccone.
Right, the relationship had been broken for years, hadn't it? Especially after his tell-all book in 2008.
Profoundly broken. Very hostile. Deep emotional wounds there.
So how did forgiveness happen?
Well, Christopher reached out to her after he was diagnosed with cancer, and she admits her first reaction was rooted in that old hurt, that victim mentality. She thought, wait, am I really going to help my enemy?
Oof, that's honest.
Very honest. She had to consciously choose forgiveness over the grudge, choose connection over comfort, choose consciousness over the old pattern.
And she did.
She did, and the reconciliation that followed before he passed away was clearly a massive spiritual release for her. She talks about feeling this huge load off my back, this weight removed.
Just being able to be there.
Being there, holding his hand, and genuinely being able to say, before he died in October 2024, I love you and I forgive you. That closure was immense.
It really highlights what she says about unforgiveness, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Holding on to grudges, hate, wanting someone else to suffer. She calls it a prison, a kind of poison, even a cancer, that ultimately only harms the person holding on to it.
And spiritually, it keeps you stuck.
It ties you karmically to that person, to that negative energy. Forgiveness, she argues, is one of the most powerful ways to actively change your karmic destiny, to liberate yourself.
Which then leads naturally to forgiving yourself.
Exactly. That was the next step in her journey. Okay, she'd forgiven others, but what about herself? We all beat ourselves up over past mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
She realized she had to stop beating up on ourselves. Accountability, yes, learning the lesson, but not constant self-flagellation. Guilt is toxic, remember?
So let go of the guilt.
Let go of the guilt. And this is showing up directly in her new music. There's a track coming called Forgive Yourself.
What's the core message?
The chorus is apparently, if you can't forgive me, forgive yourself. Wow.
Powerful. Stop using your own past against your future.
Pretty much. Accept responsibility, learn, and move on. And all this hard-won wisdom, it's now shaping how she approaches being a mother, which, remember, was the thing that started her whole deep spiritual quest in the first place.
Full circle. So what's the challenge now as a parent?
Her current edge, she says, is letting go. Letting go of expectations, letting go of control over her children's lives.
That's hard for any parent.
Especially, maybe, for someone who built an empire on vision and control. She even jokes about it, saying she struggles because you're not really a parent, you're a manager, applying that same management approach.
But why is controlling or over-helping a problem spiritually?
Because parents, often with the best intentions, tend to overgive. They smooth the path too much, give resources or validation the child hasn't actually earned through their own effort.
And that's bad.
In Kabbalistic terms, yes. It plants a seed of chaos. It's called the bird of shame. You're essentially robbing the child of the satisfaction and growth that comes from overcoming their own challenges, from earning things themselves. It can diminish their desire, their appreciation.
So the lesson for her is to step back. Trust them.
Step back, say less, allow them the space to figure things out, to struggle sometimes, to trust that they have the light within them to navigate their own lives, just like she learned she did. It requires immense faith.
And all of this internal work, the acceptance, the forgiveness, letting go, it's all pouring into the new music.
Directly. The sources confirm it. Tracks like Fragile, which sounds like a tribute to Christopher, about vulnerability, mortality.
And forgive yourself.
Exactly. The art is reflecting the life deeply, which sets the stage incredibly for Confessions 2, slated for 2026.
It feels like more than just a new album, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yes, it's a return to that iconic dance sound, reuniting with Stuart Price, who produced the original Confessions. Huge anticipation for that alone, especially with dance music having a moment again.
Right.
But contextually, it feels like a statement, a testament to coming through fire, to healing, to this whole spiritual rebirth. It's a comeback rooted in something much deeper than just music. It's rooted in this profound internal shift.
So, wrapping this up, thinking about you, our listener.
Yeah.
What's the big takeaway from this deep dive into Madonna's spiritual journey? What should we pull from this?
I think the main message, the core conclusion, is kind of a paradox, isn't it?
How so?
It's that this inner work, this spiritual consciousness, this continuous effort to look inward, it's not some fluffy escape. It's actually the fundamental requirement for real success, real sanity, especially navigating the chaos of the modern world.
So the inner work enables the outer success to be sustainable.
Exactly. It reinforces that key message from her teacher. Never settle for less than connecting to your soul's purpose. And that connection, it's not a one-time thing. It's not finding enlightenment and you're done.
It's ongoing work.
Constant vigilance, daily practice, study, humility, remembering you're the manager, the vessel, not the owner, not the source of the light itself.
It's easy to focus on the highlights, the successes, but her story really emphasizes the darkness, doesn't it? The challenges.
That's where the real wisdom comes from, she argues. Remember her quote, "The greatest amount of light is where there's darkness." We learn the most not when things are easy, but when we're pushed, when we're uncomfortable.
Which leads us to the final thought, that provocative question for you to take away.
Right. If this spiritual toolkit acceptance, the 4 steps, forgiveness if it's most powerful precisely when you're facing a challenge, when you're in that darkness or discomfort, then the question you have to ask yourself is this.
What is it?
What challenge, what uncomfortable pattern, what anxiety or situation are you currently running from, resisting, trying to avoid?
Because that thing you're running from
Might actually be your single greatest opportunity right now to reveal more light in your life. How could you consciously choose to pause, embrace that specific discomfort today instead of pushing it away? What might happen if you did?
That is definitely something to mull over, a powerful call to look within. Thank you for joining us on the Urban Herald for this deep dive.
See you next time.